Today's video, we're going to talk about Google Ads excluded locations, basically what they do. You already probably already know what they do to some regard, but I'm going to clarify that for you and how you can actually use them to make money. The real way you can use them to make money, despite what most people think excluded locations are for. The main purpose of this video is to make aware, though, more than what the negative or excluded locations do on Google ad campaigns, to make you guys aware and yourself aware what there basically is a problem that's been an ongoing problem, and it seems to be getting worse over time, actually, of people that are not in your location of where you're trying to target geographically to see your ads. And why this actually happens, I can only speculate, but for the most part, I just think it benefits Google to do this. But the bigger reason would be there's no way to turn it off. And it's baked within the system by default already. So you want to definitely pay attention to this video to understand how to get people that are not in your geographic location to not see your ads. And I have proof in this video that it will show you that it's happening to you right now, and you're wasting 10 to 20, 30% of your ad budget right now on people that aren't even in your location that you're trying to target and get customers from, and pissing your money away, basically on nothing. So with that said, so you can see not only that it's happening to you, but then also, more importantly, what to specifically do about it. One of the bigger things, by the way, of why this drains so much of your ad budget is because internationally, especially like it seems to be in India, they have scrapers that go onto Google looking for information, and they'll come from outside the country, and then all they're doing is just clicking every ad to go and find people that are advertising, because they can then email spam them, offering them Google ad services, or they're just building a database for certain things, or they're building email lists or whatever. And your campaign gets, pulled into the mix, if you will, and wastes your money. So a big part of what I'm sharing with you here today is to eliminate that effectively with the negative or excluded locations that Google Ads offers, but also people that are just non-maliciously trying to waste your budget, we'll say, that are just searching outside your area, your ads show up because Google's location settings doesn't allow you to exclude people that show interest in your area. So if they type in, if you're in San Francisco, for instance, and you're a plumber, and they type in San Francisco plumbers, and they're not in San Francisco, technically by default, the system's designed or set up, we'll say, to have your ad show up anyway. There's no way to technically shut that off, except for if you use the excluded locations. So I'm going to go into all these details here on today's video and more. So getting into the content, for some reason, especially for service campaigns, you'll notice people searching outside your target area are finding your ads. And like I said earlier in this video, it's becoming a bigger and bigger problem over time. So by the time you watch or see this, it's going to be an even bigger problem just based upon how things are going. So your search terms report, which shows what people typed in before clicking on your ads, if you go into that and do the last month, the few months or whatever, you'll see some weird searches. So if you're doing, when I said services, more so like local businesses, but even non-local businesses to some regard, just like I was explaining a bit ago, where if you are a plumber in San Francisco, they're going to be typing in San Francisco plumbers, and your ad will propagate. That's baked in the system. But not only that, for some reason, Google, you'll see in the search terms report, on top of that going on, people typing in like South African plumbers, and your ad showed up for that for whatever reason, and this person clicked on your ad. And of which, that could be, if you're targeting people in San Francisco, it could have been somebody in San Francisco that searched for South African plumbers, saw your ad, got your ad to trigger for them, and then clicked on your ad, but that's not very likely. More than likely, it's just somebody in South Africa searching. And how it triggers your ad for you trying to get customers in San Francisco, I do not know. All I do know and can tell you is this is happening more and more and more, because I'm constantly in our clients' search terms reports to do negative keywords. And I get to see about 30 plus accounts at any given time at our agency. And I see this happening more and more and more, where there's like, they'll type in a weird location like South Africa and then the keyword itself, or another city that's in a totally different state than my client's business, and with the same thing occurring. And and I just started to see where they're like actually typing in other countries recently, which is the worrisome thing. If we didn't have the excluded locations trick to get rid of that. So it's becoming to the point where you have to add the excluded locations to not have a significant problem, which is why I'm making this video. And on our side at our agency, we're to the point now of actually adding these excluded locations to block all these people searching outside the area, because it's not a nice to have, but a must have to get the ad campaigns to work, basically, or to not, like I said, waste upwards of 30% of your budget on an ongoing basis of people searching outside the area for stuff outside the area and then having your ad show up for whatever reason, or if they're inside the area, searching for stuff outside the area, not looking for stuff inside your area, or these bots, people from other countries that are then triggering your ads and clicking on your ads as well. So with that said, to fix this, if you don't want anybody outside your area to see your ads, the way you do it is simple. That is, you add all other countries to your account in the excluded locations that are not your country that you're trying to get customers or clients from. If you want to go and be a little bit more thorough, you add all the other states or provinces, if you're in a country that doesn't have states, as negative locations as well that represent states you don't do business in or are looking for customers in. If you want to go and be even more thorough, you can add all the counties, if you have counties, as negative locations for all other counties that you don't want customers in. And finally, cities, all other cities that you don't want customers in. So, of course, you can't add all the cities and counties, but once you go ahead and add all the states or provinces, obviously you're down to a list of like 100 counties in your state or whatever. And then you could just add the other, if there was 100 counties in your state, you could add, if you only do business in 3 counties, you could add the other 97 counties as a negative excluded location. I call it negative locations. It's technically called excluded locations. And then the same thing with the cities, because within a metro area that you may target, there's certain cities that may be in like ghetto areas that you don't want to get customers from. You could add those as an excluded location to make sure that you don't get anybody from there. If you can't go there, then why spend money on it? I just know that comes up a lot, so that's why I mentioned it. So with this, just by doing exactly what I said here, you can cut out 5 to 30% of waste out of your ad spend just by doing this one simple thing. And I call it simple. It's not so simple because first of all, you got to find the list of like 198 countries. I don't know the exact list off my top of my head how many countries there are. I should, but my staff does this for me at this stage. And I just can't remember off the top of my head how many countries exclusions we have, but you got to first know how many countries there are, and then you got to add each country as a negative excluded location one by one, and that takes some time. If you use Google Ad Editor, once you've done it for one campaign at least, you can copy and paste the exclusions to all other campaigns. So you legitimately only have to do it once, but you still got to do it once. And for to add in 199 excluded country locations, that might take you a couple hours to do. If you want to save that time, by the way, just reach out to me at my agency at Guaranteed PPC, guaranteedppc.com. Be more than happy to share our Google Ad Editor file that you can use to copy the exclusions from the file that I give you into your own Google Ad Editor file, copy, paste, and you could do it in essentially less than 5 minutes. But you get my point. And the same thing with the states and so on and so forth. But it obviously is worth it because, yeah, it takes you 2 hours now or 5 hours now or to do or 10 hours now. But you're not wasting $1,000 a month on ad spend that gets you nowhere. Not to mention, it's not just the wasted ad spend. You got to consider the waste in time that your sales staff has to waste with people that you can't serve, a lot of which they might actually get into the quoting process before they even figure out, oh, we can't cover your area, whatever. Or they're from an area that doesn't have a high income, like we were talking about before, and you get all the way through the sales process and then find out you can't serve their market because your sales staff forgets to ask them where they're from before you start or whatever. But you get my general point. There's more to it than wasted ad spend. You have wasted actual resources. So anyway, that all said, I want to give you some basic other information to know here. Now, the way I'm always on this channel trying to tell you guys how to get the absolute maximum return you can out of Google, given there's only so much pie available in your space. The low-hanging fruit in your market is people searching on Google, looking to buy a product or service from your market. You do everything you can to get as many of those customers as you can because those are the gimmies in your market. And so with that, to get the most out of your market, what you want to do if you have a local business is in the advanced location settings under the settings menu in your campaigns. There's two options that you can normally choose. There's either presence or interest or just presence. Which presence or interest is somebody that's either in your area or just has interest about your area. So going back to that previous example I mentioned where if I'm not in San Francisco, but I type in San Francisco plumbers, and let's say I'm in Denver, but I type in San Francisco plumbers while I'm in Denver, if you have presence or interest selected on the advanced location settings, your ad will show up. That ad will show up for me being in Denver, even though I'm not in San Francisco. Even though the location targeting, the positive or included locations just says San Francisco, it'll show up for that person anyway. So you may just say, well, I only want to do presence then, right? First of all, if you have presence, it doesn't guarantee in and itself that it won't show up for the Denver person because presence is in or regularly in, which that is, not exactly how it works. It can still show up for the Denver person because if it didn't, I wouldn't go through the trouble of adding all these excluded locations. And going through the search terms report, you can see evidence of people outside the area clicking on your ads. And if you go into geographic IP reports that go into your IP address and then where the locations of the IPs are, you'll see that the people are outside the area clicking on your ads as well. You don't have to do that. You can take my word for it. But if you go presence only in your advanced location settings on a local campaign, what you miss out then is people that, let's say you only cover half the city in your geographic market or in your metro area where you're covering. Like let's say you target Orlando, but you really only cover half of Orlando, and that's where you want your customers. The people from the other half of Orlando, because people often search at work. So if they're at work searching for a service that they want done at their house in an area that you do service, your ad risks not showing up for that person, which is why you want to use presence or interest for local businesses specifically, because they're regularly in those areas. Now, presence in and itself is supposed to cover that, but what I've experienced is it's not necessarily how it works per se. And if you really want it to propagate for that person that perhaps at work when they make a search, you want presence or interest, as loony as this kind of seems. And if you use the excluded locations, then you have no problems with it. You don't have to worry about your ad showing up for a guy or a gal in another state because it won't. And then therefore, you don't have to go with presence only, and you get the maximum people that you possible in your geographic market that could be a customer and is in the area that you actually serve, if that makes sense, so to say. If you don't use the excluded locations for a local business, I would just go presence only because you're going to have an issue anyway. But You'll get more out of a local campaign in general with presence or interest with the excluded locations. For everything else, just do presence only, because that's, effectively there's no benefit to going wider with the presence or interest. It's only downside, because presence or interest, even with the excluded locations, isn't absolutely perfect, where you'll have 0.0% people outside your intended area and that you can serve, having the ad show up for. But the upside of, getting more people that you would have potentially lost that you could still serve makes up for the fact that a couple will slip through the cracks if you don't have presence or interest. Where you're targeting nationally, there's no reason why you want somebody from Canada to search for your products or services while you're in the US if you target the US market. Presence is the only logical choice that I would go with in that particular case. So this didn't have anything necessarily to do per se with the excluded locations trick, if you will, that I apply to every single campaign out of necessity now for the client accounts that we work on to guarantee the results. But I thought I would throw that in there because a lot of people question this as to how this works as it pertains to what your ad will and what won't show up for, and what you should choose to get the most results out of Google Ads, given how unprecise Google's location targeting ultimately is. But so local-based businesses, presence or interest seems to produce a little bit better than presence only. And with that, excluded locations, you want to add those to your campaigns every time. So that's how you can save 10 to 30% typically on wasted ad spend on your Google Ads account as it exists right now today, and how to prove it to yourself that you can save this money by looking, i.e. looking at your search terms report and find those funny location searches in there that shouldn't be there, of people searching for an area that you don't cover necessarily. You can prove it to yourself. And if you want to prove it to yourself a little bit more, you go ahead and you find a way to do PWIK, P-I-W-I-K, is one way to monitor traffic coming into your site and then where they're at geographically, because there's IP address, there's what they call reverse IP address lookups, where based upon someone's IP address, you can find out where they're located. And that PWIK will tell you, based upon the IP addresses of the users that you're paying for, where they're at geographically. Ultimately, yes, Google Analytics does the same thing, but they kind of hide it more so than if you were to use an outside tool, because Google has no incentive to tell you that you're paying for people in South Africa to click on your ads. Why would they want to do that? And so it's a bit of a conspiracy in a way there. But you could prove it to yourself that way, or you could just take my word for it and just add the darn excluded locations and not have your ad show up for people outside your area anymore, or having the bots have your ad having it trigger for the bots that are outside the country or outside the area itself. And obviously the bot thing could be people outside the country, or if you're a local business, I didn't even mention it, but it could be people from other parts of the country, because there's people obviously that run bots domestically as well. So that will eat your budget, and that just prevents those bots from ever being able to see your ads. Anyway, I'll wrap it up with that. Hopefully that made a lot of sense. Hopefully you use it. If you like the video, I'd appreciate giving the video a like, and consider subscribing, as I have a ton of other content on this channel about how to make money with ads on Google, Facebook, and so on and so forth, that you should absolutely pay attention to if you want to make millions of dollars with your ads. This comes directly from an ad strategist who does ad strategy all day long. I'm not a YouTuber, I'm not a course seller. I do ad strategy, and I give you the stuff that exactly works on this channel so you can make those millions. It's the best, most accurate, real information you could find, literally, no BS, online and on YouTube, on how to actually make money with ads. Furthermore, if you like my channel, by the way, you can find a really good blog that I write at guaranteeppc.com/blog, as well as on my column at entrepreneur.com, which has written content for myself on the latest, greatest techniques that actually make money, not theory, not, convoluted, this button does that, this feature is coming out, but here's how to make money. That's what I cover. Beyond that, if you have any questions about anything I covered here today, leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a comment on this channel, usually within a couple days' time. You can ask me any ad-related question you'd like, and I'll answer it free of charge, just as a way to give back for you watching my videos and helping us grow our channel. If you are looking for an ad manager now or in the future, you should definitely consider reaching out to me and seeing if we could potentially work together. I offer a guaranteed PPC service where we can guarantee you a certain minimum increase in lift in your sales or leads, depending on what you're doing, before we charge any fees to you at all. Whereas the fees that we charge will basically just come out of the additional profit you're making from your campaigns already. And there's no catch other than we gotta know we can get good results on your campaign. So we would look over what you have and see if we can potentially work together. We cherry pick, really the ones that look like can work, and which is perfect for you, because if you don't want smoke blown up your ass, then if you come to us we have to get results to get paid, we certainly aren't going to do that. So reach out to me if you're interested in working not just with any PPC expert, but the best PPC expert you can find online. If you are not looking to work with an ad agency per se here, which we are, and I'm the lead strategist in which I will strategize your campaigns, you can also consider using our ad templates, where you can literally copy and paste your way to success. That is, if we've worked in your market before, we could take the ads and the landing pages that we use to get results in your same market, and you could take those and just copy and paste them into your own ad account, get the same results we were. We could tell you what results you would get up front before you used them, because we got the same results for ourselves. And this obviously just shortcuts all the time and effort it took for us to, and the years we spent to figure out what works in your market. You get it right away. And tons of saved money on trying stuff that didn't ultimately work. So if you're interested in that, reach out to me. Of course, we got people using these templates to start other businesses as well, because they work so well. And if you're going to start a new business, why would you start something in which if you have the option to start with a winning ad template that works for that market and a campaign funnel template, why not pick that? I mean, we got people taking the templates, selling the leads, outsourcing all the delivery of everything, and then they just have a site and a template that we have that works for that market, and they're making money from it because they work so well. We've spent years building up results in that market already. So as long as there's no conflict of interest between you and the client we have now or had it in the past, we can offer you the same thing so you can use it in your geographic market because it works in another already. So anyway, if you're interested in that, reach out as well. As a final note, if you are wanting, you want to work with an ad agency, by the way, and you don't want to pay the high fees, which they pay for themselves, but we actually are looking for sponsors where people would let us work on their ad campaign for free, as long as we could share our results on this particular YouTube channel. Because we have people all the time saying, Corey, I want to see, practical application of what you're saying on this channel. And I'd love to provide it as long as we have somebody that's willing to let us share their results on this channel, because without having a real campaign to show and just showing you a mock setup, it's not going to make any difference. And that crappy content exists all over YouTube already anyway. But we will work on your campaigns for free if you were to let us share your results long term on this channel. So just reach out if you're interested in that. You got to have at least $400,000 a year in sales to be able to apply to this, because we don't want any concept ideas that we're working on, because these results, we're going to have a series that we would do to really show the progress of the campaign as the stuff we teach is progressing, because stuff doesn't work in 1 second either. So anyway, if you're interested in that, I'd love to hear from you. GuaranteePPC.com for that. I'll wrap it up with that, though. I hope you stick around for the next video where we have another great strategy for you to make some money with PPC. I'll see you on the next one.